Hello, Room 16, and welcome to the newest science unit for you all, Interactions and Ecosystems, the study of life and how it interacts with the world around it, including other life. What we see here is some fish and a turtle. What we see around that is some more fish and turtles, and then, like, coral and things, and rocks. Rocks aren't alive, though. And here we have ferns and trees, and oh my god, a marshland. So, we'll be learning about interactions, which is how living things interact, and ecosystems, the places they interact in. So what's an interaction? An interaction is when two living things do something with each other. An example, birds yelling at each other. Or a bear eating a fish. It could be just about anything, though. It could be if I have my pet cat yelling at me for food because it is hungry and depends on me to be fed. Examples of ecosystems. An ecosystem is an area where living things interact with one another. So, the ocean, the bottom of the sea, a desert. This one looks pretty devoid of life, though. It's just kind of sky, air, and sand. Some people study how living things interact with one another. Ecology is the study of interaction of living organisms with one another and their environment. A person who studies ecology is called an ecologist. Dun 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 dun! Ecologists study the interactions between humans and nature, and they also help us understand how to maintain clean air and water and conserve or protect habitats. So people like these fine fellows here who are putting this turtle back in the ocean, but with that looks like a tracking device attached to know where the turtle goes. These very armed men with guns protecting a rhinoceros, and just looking at these elephants. That's like a lot of elephants. So an ecosystem includes all the interactions between the living and non-living things in an area. For example, a rock is not alive, it is non-living. And a frog is alive, it is living. If they were to interact, you might see that. Ribbit. So, right away, what are some living and non-living things in this picture? Well, we got a big old rock right here, that's not alive. The air is not alive. But then we have sunflowers, the tree, the grass, the flowers, the moss on the tree. Those are all alive. And this is, for your slides. Okay. We'll be doing this as a part of an assignment attached to the same thing. For example, I'm going to pick an ecosystem like maybe a river. I'm going to be listing all the non-living things found in that ecosystem. For example, log, water, soil, mud, rocks. You'll be listing all the living things found in the ecosystem. Deer, raccoon, fish, lily pad, turtles, dragonflies, cattails, insects, frogs, cattails, meow. And then draw or paste me a picture. So, is the following thing an interaction or an ecosystem? If a clownfish hides inside an anemone, that's an interaction. Sorry, let's explain why. It's an interaction because it is just two things interacting. The clownfish hides inside the anemone for protection because these have little stingers on the ends, and probably gets something from the clownfish, but I'm not really a marine biologist to tell you. Is the following an interaction or ecosystem? A gulf. Here we have a bunch of water, but we also have like a small amount of land with plants growing out of it, especially long-rooted things like trees. Is this an interaction or an ecosystem? You're right, it's an ecosystem. This has a variety of birds and plants and fish and other animals and like algae that all interact to keep life going, basically, and everything gets fed. Mosquito bites. Is this an interaction or an ecosystem? You're right, it's an interaction. The mosquito is interacting with a human being's flesh. I hate mosquitoes. So, the fun thing about ecosystems is that they can be very, very big, like this forest, or very, very small, like just one rotting log. That's a pretty big log, but it's like, compared to an entire forest, very small. But inside it has like a million different things going on. It's called a community. There are sawflies that grind up and eat the wood. There are carpenter moth caterpillars that again dig through the wood and eat it. There are longhorn beetles. downy woodpeckers come here to look for bugs to eat, such as the bark beetle. Dry rot fungus survives by, rotting dry things. Seedlings are growing inside it. There's a million different kinds of fungi and bacteria, like mushrooms and other things. There are carpenter ants and termites that are, again, just eating all that wood. So, the following things be considered big or small ecosystems. What's this? A stump. A tree stump. What do you think? Big or small? Tree stumps are pretty small. What about a desert? With these, just people walking along. It must be hard to walk up that hill. It's going to be big because the desert is pretty large. Deserts are by nature very large, like features of a landscape. A rainforest? It's going to have to be an ecosystem. And a tide pool? Well, that's also going to be a small ecosystem. So all of these things count as ecosystems. The larger ones you might also know as biomes if you've played a Minecraft. Biotic and abiotic factors. Ecosystems are made of both living or, once living, no longer living, and non-living components. The living components are called biotic. Biotic. The non-living components are called abiotic. So examples of things that are biotic: trees, rabbits, mushrooms, ladybugs, leaves, humans, cats, bugs. Examples of abiotic, non-living things: clouds, rain or water, the wind, the sun, and heat, temperature. So the following things should be either biotic or abiotic. Dirt? What do you think? It's going to be abiotic. Grass is biotic because it's alive. You can chew on grass and eat it, and probably don't do that. Wind is not alive, it is just a thing that moves. It is the air currents circulating. Algae, though, algae is alive. And the sun? Well, the sun's not alive, but it is very, very energetic. So, the needs of living things. All biotic things, everything that is alive, has 4 basic needs in order to survive. All living things need food or energy, water, a suitable habitat where to live, and air. Even fish need air. They just extract air from the water that they breathe in through their gills. Is this little bumbling honeybee going to be biotic or abiotic? It's biotic, it's living, so is the flower behind it. What about the giant nuclear furnace that powers our entire planet? It's abiotic, the sun is not alive, no matter what people tell you. What about a Sour Patch Kid gummy? It's abiotic, it is not alive. What about Kitty, Miss Ty's cat? Abiotic or biotic? So depending on who you talk to, like Miss Ty's mom, Kitty might not be considered fully biotic because she is so rude. Look at that face. But technically she is biotic. And that is what we are doing today for science. So, thank you all for listening to that. I want to remind you all to please go and make sure that you complete the full assignment and submit the form when you're done. And if you don't do that, it's going to be a big hassle. I'll have to remind you a bunch. So, until then, have a lovely weekend from Mr. Bon.